Okay, I think we can start. Okay, so welcome everyone. So my name is Wiktor Żołnowski. I'm co-founder and CEO of Pragmatic Coders. Today with me is Łukasz, who is our head of marketing.
Hello everyone.
Yeah. So we are going to talk a little bit about the impact of the current situation of the almost global lockdown and the COVID pandemic on the business. We are going to focus on a three different but three different groups of businesses. We'll start with startups, then we go to the scale-ups, and later on we'll focus on the regular services and the product companies that are affected by the pandemic. In terms of who we are and why we are talking about this, so usually we are more focused on building the product than on talking about products. Since at Pragmatic Coders we are a software house that is specialized in rapid product development and going live with the products pretty fast. But the current situation shows us that it would be good to share our experience with others and tell how we actually work on the product and what is required from you and what you could do to react fast to the current situation and go live in a couple of weeks or months instead of years, and how you could develop your products quickly and respond to the current needs. I think that the current situation shows that this fast pace and incremental development is crucial, and we cannot allow ourselves to move slow and for example work on the fixed price or fixed scope contracts anymore. Okay, so I think that's all on that. So what is the impact on the business? What does it mean for the business right now in terms of the COVID pandemic and the current situation? I don't want to speak too much about this aspect, but for sure one thing that we need to know is that it will not end in the next 2 weeks. It will take a little bit longer. And I'm not just saying about the lockdown, I'm not saying about the social distancing, I'm saying that the consequences of the current situation will have its effect for the next couple of months, if not years. And the current situation changed already, and it will be changing as some progress will be made. What we could expect is the upcoming recession and the financial crisis that people and governments are talking about right now and trying to prepare as best as they could for that. What does it mean? That means that many of people will lose their jobs, and many of companies will fail. But some of the companies will survive and even shine and move forward and benefit on the current situation, like on every other crisis. So today we'll try to focus on the companies, or actually or what you could do to deal with it and how you could react. In terms of the black swan at this picture, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the book written by Nassim Nicholas Taleb called Antifragile, and the other book that is called Black Swan. Those two books are about the events and how to prepare to the events that has very low probability, but when happen have huge impact. And actually, Nassim Taleb said that the current situation wasn't a typical black swan in one of the interviews, because some of the countries were well prepared for that, like Singapore, for example. But still, what happened, the pandemic, this is something that no one was, or almost no one was expecting, and no one was prepared for that. And now we had to react and deal with the results and try to figure out how to move forward and how to use the current situation on our benefits. So we can imagine there will be like at least three possible scenarios. One scenario, the first scenario, is that it will pass soon, and in the next couple of weeks, we will get back to normal, more or less to normal. That will be a new normal, not the same that is right now, but the economy will be restarted. Countries will stop the, or actually maybe not stop, but lose the social isolation or self-isolation rules, and we will slowly move forward. This is the most optimistic scenario that we hope that will happen. The second scenario is that it will last a little bit longer, even a couple of months, and we'll have to stay in a lockdown for later months, not weeks. And the economy will be restarting and starting to recover not earlier than in the second half of 2021. This is not optimistic scenario. It still could happen. We don't know how successful we will be in fighting back the virus, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get back soon to some kind of normality. And the third scenario, which is the pessimistic one, is that nothing what we do will not work, and even the social distancing and other stuff will not prevent the virus from spreading, will not prevent the virus from mutating, and we might found out that people who had recovered are not 100% immune to the virus. So it will be coming back in waves, and we may live in a future that we'll have to deal with the partially social isolation, then some period of loose services, loose restrictions, and we'll be more in a normal state. But then we'll be coming back to the social distancing and go on. Today we'll focus more on the first more optimistic scenario, not the third one, since things that we'll be talking about in the first scenario will need to be even rephrased and may not work. So let's focus on those two scenarios that, in my opinion, are more probable right now, and let's talk about the impact on the COVID. On the business that the COVID-19 and the pandemic has right now. So what does it mean? What will change is for sure that some of the users' behavior will change, and those behaviors that might be new behaviors, new habits. For example, the way people do shopping, it already changed, and for example, I'm a great example of a person who made a shopping every day. I walk to the grocery after work every day and buy only the products that I need for dinner and for the breakfast for the next day, and everything was always fresh and sterile. Right now, I had to maybe not learn, but came back to the habit of planning my shopping and doing the shopping through the grocery shopping through the internet, or even when visiting a shop, I need to be prepared with a list and do the shopping once a week or once per 2 weeks, which is something that is totally new for me. But I must say I'm already used to it. And this is just a basic habit. I'm not even saying about the remote work or other stuff that are going on around, and we need to adjust to it. Some of these things will stay with us. So the COVID-19 is a true agility test. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Agile and lean software development. We'll speak a little bit about this later on. But I used to be a consultant. I used to be an Agile coach and trainer. I used to lead a lot of Agile training and courses. And people often says that they want to get some certification and be certified Scrum Master or Agile developer or whatever, or the certification on the company level. But right now we have a true exam and true test of the agility. And agility understood by how fast the business could adapt to the changing circumstances and the changing situation and the changing context. This is our exam on how good we are on this. And of course, visual distance. Like we are social creatures. We used to live in a group. We used to work together in a group. Even in the ancient history, people were hunting as a group, never alone or rarely alone. Or those who hunt as a group were more successful. So we created these behaviors, these social behaviors that right now are, because of the social distancing and virtual distance that we have, are almost impossible to perform, and we need to change that. And it's extremely hard, and many companies will struggle with it. I see it among our clients or my friends who are working, especially in the bigger companies where everything was based on the direct communication and some heavy procedures and handovers and etc. That now those companies struggle with it, and especially where a lot of paperwork have been done on the paper. Now it's a huge problem when people cannot hand over some documents to each other or sign it by person and other stuff. So also managing a remote company is totally different than managing the stationary company, when you have always a chance to have a face-to-face conversation or group brainstorming or group meeting. So things changed, and some of the companies will struggle with adaptation. Some other will simply adapt. I think that Łukasz, you can tell us a little bit more about this.
Okay, thank you. Hello again, everyone. So China coped with the virus ahead of the rest of the world, and probably we could learn about what they do, what they've done in a way that is beneficial for us. So one of the challenges I would like to mention here, which I believe is a good example of true agility and adaptiveness, is what happened in Yonghai superstores. We are talking about retail and selling wholesale food, and basically the whole situation changed, as we all know, dramatically. People have to buy groceries online, and especially when it comes to vegetables, is a challenge from delivery perspective. People could handpick different sets of vegetables, and it's a nightmare to package them and to ship them. So Yonghai, together with 4Paradigm, they came up with a solution. They have used machine learning to create configuration of vegetables. And you could buy only a packaged vegetable. The configuration was based on consumer data from the past, and the inventory, the live inventory of Yonghai Superstore. So I think it's a cool example of how to use machine learning to solve this huge problem caused by pandemic. The other lesson from China is about the illness itself. As you know, it's a terrible disease, and people are very anxious, and they want to know what are the symptoms and how to deal with the situation, how to treat themselves. So JD, together with the city of Wuhan, came up with a chatbot to answer common questions about medications, about symptoms. This chatbot was integrated with support centers, and people could, look for answers at scale.
Yeah, so I forget to mention that this webinar will be recorded, but if you have any questions right now, or if you have any comments or something, please put it on the chat next to the video. Together with us, there is Chris, who is collecting all of your questions. He will be pushing it to us, and we'll try to answer them most probably at the end of the presentation. But for those who are not on the live webinar, but will be watching it later as a recorded video, You can also contact us and ask any questions if you will have them, and just do not hesitate. We'll provide the contact details at the end of this video and probably somewhere in the description, so you are not losing anything if you are watching it afterward. So getting back to what I said before, we split this first part of the presentation about the impact of that the COVID pandemic has on the business on the 3 stages. The first one is startups, the second one is scale-ups, and the third one is product and services components. So let's start with the startups. So startups usually are the company are business that is not making money yet. Are pretty risky and are invested by some institutional investors or some other kind of investors, or sometimes self-funded. So in terms of the financing, right now what we already seen the last month is that it's much harder to get the investment, and investors are more risk aware than they used to be before. And right now it's harder to prove to the investor that your idea actually makes sense. So what investors will be looking for right now is that they are looking on the solution that at least were tested on the market, have some market feedback. This is why going live or creating some kind of MVP or demo application pretty soon and collecting the market feedback is crucial right now. If you are a startup, if you are starting here in your new business, you need to quickly show your investor that you are not talking about some idea, but you already proved that this idea is something that people actually needed. Also, it's not so bad because I've seen also that some VCs, some venture capital companies already switched direction and put a lot of funding into the startups in these new areas, new businesses that are business domains that are connected with fighting back the COVID pandemic, or actually with the new businesses opportunities that we'll be speaking later on about that arise after the pandemic or during the pandemic, where new people's needs and behaviors need to be satisfied by new products. So there is still a chance to get the financing, but as I said, you need to be fast. So also, it's a good time if you already have a startup, if you're already building a product. It's a good time to think about if your product will succeed in the future, in the new future. As I mentioned, the situation will change, people's behavior will change, people's needs will change, people's priority will change. Like someone recently put the on our Slack channel put the meme that it's funny that economy fail when people are buying only what they need. Yeah, so it's not true. It's not true. It's still funny, but not true. But still, people will not be behave the same way as they used to because of the many reasons. As I mentioned, many of them will lose their job, lose their income. Some of them will simply be afraid of the virus, of the current situation. So the decision that they make right now are made in a different way than they used to be. So if you're working on your product, try to think if your product will be successful, might be successful when people's behavior will change. If not, maybe there is something you could do to actually adjust your product to pivot to something else and use what you have on board, use your resources, your money that you have already collected, your potential, your people in your team, and try to build something that might be useful now or after the lockdown and when the restriction will be used. Also, some of the product ideas that used to be not very popular or not very used, like for example, I remember at least 3 Polish startups. We are from Poland, by the way. That was about the electronical signing documents. That were okay. They were popular more or less, but right now they're at top. They're growing high because people need to sign the documents, and physical contact is almost impossible, or at least pretty risky. So plenty of their clients, that plenty of companies move to signing the documents online instead of the physical way. So this kind of startups that used to be not so popular, mostly because people were used to why they should pay for something that they could do offline by paper and pen. So they now the new needs cause that this kind of startups are growing pretty fast. Even then, in the past, they were not very successful. As I mentioned before, there are totally new markets that appears right now, caused by the pandemic, caused by the people's behavior and some new needs that people have. Like for example, you may think about starting a toilet paper production company, which no, it's not a very good idea anymore. But yeah, it's already too late. But still, there's like a new markets that you can figure out around that, and new opportunities that you can have, and as I said, already users' behavior changed. Some of them changed permanently. Yeah, this picture on the left was, even before it was hard to understand what users actually want and need, and right now it's even harder than that. But from the other hand, maybe it's not, because since before we have like a different type of users. Like for example, even about the remote work, like there were people who like remote work and needed to have a tools, and people who were more office working people there, and they needed to connect with other face-to-face, etc. Right now, everyone is working remotely, so majority of the market have the same problems and the same needs, not just the some part of the market. So the user groups is much bigger, and the problems that we have are more common. I'm pretty sure that right now most of you are still sitting at home, not working from the office, but working remotely. So you can look around and see what problems do you have, and I can guarantee you that many of people all around the world have the same problems right now. So this is like a new opportunity to actually move your startup to some direction that will help others and hopefully be successful for you.
Thank you, Victor. So let's talk about the impact on scale-ups, shall we? So what is a scale-up? In our view, it's a startup that has already answered on two questions. Do I have a problem worth solving? And have I built something people want? So if you have such a startup, you're a scale-up, and your goal now is to accelerate your growth and optimize what you do. So what scale-ups could do in this situation, unless they have been lucky and the product that they do is in high demand right now, maybe they should slow down and look at the efficiency of the process they have, and think about how to make the organization lean. Probably you should review your acceleration plan. The second thing scale-ups could do is to go remote. Some of the scale-ups have been doing all the work on site. Since now most of the population is remote, maybe you could go to a partner who is experienced in delivering remotely. And the situation will last for months or more. So it's probably a good opportunity to try it for yourself and hire people who are experienced in such a work model. And the last thing that scale-ups could do now is to save money. Maybe there are some advertisements or cost cuttings that they should do, and think about how to find their acceleration plan again.
Yeah, this like in our case, where we just before the lockdown, we've been planning a job advertising campaign all over the cities. with the big posters and other stuff, which right now, hopefully we didn't started that and we didn't order that. It was like a last moment call that maybe we should postpone it, because right now it doesn't make any sense. Yeah? It would be a bad idea at the time.
Yes, indeed. So what are the opportunities for scale-ups? One of the big opportunities is access to talents. This unfortunate situation that we all face now will cause layoffs of talented people. So you can hire great talents. It's much easier now than before. And as we mentioned before, scale-ups could go lean. Maybe there are better ways of doing things, and lean and agile methods are well known and battle tested. So now we have time to try them out and benefit from higher efficiency. So in retrospect, you could see the summary here. It starts always with the market, with the user. You have to check your user base, how the behaviors changed, and then maybe there are some new needs and you can pivot what you do. You have to review your cost structure. Maybe you could go remote and save some money on that. And you need to figure out your own acceleration plan again in the brave new world.
Yeah, so as Łukasz mentioned before, some of the scale-ups that already had a product and found out the product market fit and were on the right market shine. Like, for example, some of the communication tools like Zoom that we are using right now. I have never been using Zoom before, actually, before this group was created and these webinars, and otherwise most probably I wouldn't use it. But it's a pretty cool tool. Yeah, the same with Slack, or even Google made something great in terms of their tools for schools. Like they offered, but it's not a scale up. It's already corporate, but they offered their all the toolbox for education for free for the schools because of the pandemic, and so schools could start teaching remotely using Google tools, and if that will work, they will have a great new clients for the future afterwards. The same could happen for plenty of the scale-ups and even startups right now that could build their user base, even giving something for free as a CSR or something, but they could grow the user base. The same happened with the telemedicine services like OpenSalud, for example, and a bunch of others, startups or scale-ups that struggle with growing before, as I mentioned, but right now shines. The same with the remote education, for example. The startup that I like very much, because I had a pleasure to meet the founders and work with the team some time ago, Brainly, which I think that last in March they have the user base grown by about 30% or something like this, which is huge because they already have a huge number of users, of kids all over the world who teach together, who learn together and try to solve some problems, educational problems. The same with Duolingo, which is now succeeding and works pretty well. So besides of the scale-ups, we have this third group, the regular product and services companies, and here we are talking about the companies that are not digitalized yet or only partially digitalized, etc. Like, for example, local stores that never used to sell to the e-commerce channels, but now need to move into digital way. So the first challenge that those companies have right now is how to go digital, how to connect their current product into the new reality, how to actually package the product in new boxes to present it better in the digital world. This is like a total change in the way they are doing the marketing. Also, what could you do to secure your brand and build your brand or move your brand to online world. So there are a few changes in the product and services companies and a few challenges. First of all, you need to consider how to secure your staff and how to secure your supply chain. So those are like two the most important thing, that because first of all, before you think about how you could benefit on a crisis, first you need to survive the crisis. So most probably your staff and your supply chain are your two very important assets that you need to secure at the moment. Next, you need to think about how your clients' needs change and what could you do with it. So, for example, you can, hopefully those restrictions that we have, those limitations that we have will pass soon. So now crucial for you might be to figure out how you could keep your your client base engaged in your brand, so they will come back to you afterward, or maybe you can monetize this group in the other way. So think about your users' needs and how they change. Think how the market will change. Like, think about what will happen if you will survive the crisis and all of your competitors or many of your competitors will not. So how you should position yourself in the new reality to actually accelerate and grow fast and benefit on the current situation, because there will be plenty of new companies afterward, or they can be. How you can move your business in the position where you will have advantage. Use this time. Maybe you have some savings or something that you can or some money that you can actually use to prepare yourself to the new situation. Think about the plan, and think about the plan how to go digital, because that might be something that will be good for you even after the current situation, not just right now. There are like a few things, few opportunities that there are for the product and services companies, like some process automation and the idea of doing things in a more automated way, because, for example, the social distancing or the restrictions in your, let's say, factory or your services are preventing you from working as you used to. So maybe there is a chance to do some process automation, even with some coding, like low-code apps that could allow even you can do some coding and automate part of your process. And of course, the words that are very popular right now, which is digital transformation. This is like a huge box of things that you could do, but you can, as I said, start from moving if you have, for example, a small store, you can move your sales to the e-commerce world one way or another. You may start thinking about adding some of the services on the top of your services, maybe some consulting or something. So those are things that you can do, and you can even think about going global and doing things globally thanks to that. Because the market, like, there are like a few predictions. One of it is that the market will be now more regionalized than globalized, as it used to be, because the current situation shows that regional markets are better than global when everyone is dependent from each other. But I'm pretty sure that it won't happen for the digital markets, because web is already global, and stopping it from globalization is almost impossible. But still, if you are working on the local market and go digital, you can benefit on the scale of the global market instead of your local one, especially if you are in a country that have some benefits in terms of some advantages in terms of for example, low price or something like this. And of course, you need to think about the digital marketing and growth hacking. This is something that is mandatory. A few of the examples of how these services providers could adapt. So, for example, we currently are working on a beta version of the platform that will allow local stores to sell online without changing their processes and anything like this. Yeah, like it's like a simple app that will allow the customer to do the video call to the store and to cherry pick what they want to buy, and the store will pack it and send it to the buyer, of course, with some money transaction online. Pretty simple idea that could move the regular business into the digital way, do the digital transformation in a matter of hours, because the onboarding won't be more difficult than that. Another good example of what's happened already around us is some of the hotels, because, for example, in Poland, hotels were closed by the government, and this kind of services were prohibited. But some of the hotels figure out that they cannot host people for a night, but they can offer their rooms as the remote work offices. Like if you are living in a small flat with your wife or husband and 3 of your kids, it might be hard for you to perform as good as you used to at work when you went to the office. So some of the hotels start offering the remote work rooms for days. Another idea, what could happen, what people could do, is some expert advices. I can give you an example of my dancing teachers from 2 different schools, 2 different approaches. One school moved their classes totally online, and they just recording lessons, provide some feedback, and do this online. The second one also move it online, but not as a regular lessons, but they just do the free open classes right now for everyone who is interested, not even the participant from the school. People from all over the country are watching this, and that are almost like a regular lessons, but provided online. That way they are building the user base, which now is the client base that now is growing. And afterwards, when things get back to normal, they will have way more clients than the others. Even if they are giving it for free, they are sometimes they are asking for donation, and people actually are donating that, which is awesome. They managed to find a way to get through the crisis and to came up with a bigger user base. Another idea of, for example, for a barber, you can see how we look like because of the lockdown, and we are not experts in self-shaving or cutting our hairs. So some idea for the barber. Let's start. If you are a barber and you have your services and your user base, you can start providing self-cutting video tutorial, how to cut yourself, what kind of shaving machine you should use, you should buy, and other stuff like this. You can go that direction and figure out how you can digitalize your services. Maybe you already have your phone book with phone numbers of your clients. Call them and ask if they need some one-to-one conversation and advices, what they could do at home, or I don't know what my wife or girlfriend could do to shave me, to cut my hairs and other stuff at home, and so I will be looking a little bit better than I do right now. Yeah. So there are still opportunities that you can use. There are people who still have pretty the same needs that they used to have, but the way you should provide the services is totally different than it used to be. So it's not very easy, but still doable.
Thank you, Victor. So what does it mean for you? What's the meaning of all of this? And I was looking for some story here to visualize what we mean by that. I'm a fly fisher. I do fly fishing in the mountains in Poland and elsewhere. And if there is one thing certain about spring is that the river has changed. It's a bedrock and it's all new environment. So the fish that thrive there is trout. Trout is very agile. They adapt to the new situation, to the new conditions, and they are really, really smart in terms of how to find food and how to live in a really cold water. And I think this methodology, this kind of philosophy applies to companies these days. So you need to be like a trout. You need to adapt. You need to be smart. You need to be agile. Otherwise, the new conditions will really hurt you. So we combine this knowledge in a form of a recommendation. We believe that if you're a startup with a new product, you should go live in less than 3 months to validate your hypothesis. If you're a scale-up, maybe there's some pivot ahead of you. If you're a product company or someone ahead of digital transformation, you also have to do it now. So we thought that we will combine lists of reasons why you should go live with whatever you do in less than 3 months.
And those 3 months is just 3 months is just a number. Yeah, it's usually in practice is much shorter, but since we are dealing with a different kind of products every day, like some of them are very, very complex, and this 3 months is our safety limit that we can fit almost anything there, despite the domain and despite the complexity of the product. We could figure out anything for any product. We can figure out something that you can use to go live in 3 months, but usually it's much faster. So I think you will get it soon.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So first thing first, going live like before 3 months period, it's allows you to validate market need. So everything that is like a hypothesis, idea is great on the paper, doesn't survive long with real users, unless it was given to them on early stage. So you need to get the understanding whether market actually believe it's a cure for the need they have. And it goes with the second point, market will give you feedback. So Steve Jobs once said that people don't know what they want until you give it to them. But we can also say that people don't know what they don't want until you give it to them. So building a prototype and going with it to the market is really a crucial element of establishing market feedback loop and preventing you from wasting time and money. So 2 points: problem solution fit and product market fit. This is what you should aim for on the beginning of every product journey.
Yes. So building software, especially if you are trying to do this in a good way, in a good quality, consumes a lot of enormous amounts of money actually, and it's usually very hard. So limiting yourself, your team, to deliver something in less than 3 months or even shorter than that, you are limiting the money that there is some risk that will be wasted on building something that people will not need. So by doing that and doing it incrementally, adding the new increments after this period to the product and experimenting with that, you are limiting the costs of the development, the total cost of the development of the product that you are want to build. So giving this frames, putting these frames on your team, on yourself even, because it's very important to figure out what to do and what you shouldn't do for the first version. is very crucial and saves a lot of money. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, yeah, that right now investors, and not even right now, like even before COVID, before the pandemic, investors were looking at the three things that were most important. One of them was who is the founder and what is the founder's track record. Actually, those are two, and the third one is what is the product, and actually founder and the team and their track record, and what is the product. This is something that that was most important for the investors. So when you have, if you are, for example, ex-Googler or ex-founder of 3 successful startups, or you have such a people in the team, you already have 1/3 of the things that you need to convince the investor, yeah. Especially if you in the past, if you build the successful products. And the third one is the one that if you have just an idea, you need to prove this idea. You need to prove that you need to build this track record on your own, on your new product. Excuse me. And so you you need to move fast. You need to go live fast. You need to prove the idea really fast. So this is very, very important. Not just right now, but at all. So I'm also, since we are usually service providers for our clients, I was saying that this is the best way. Going live fast is the best way to prove that we are the good services providers for the startup founders or business founders. This is a great test for the vendors that they could perform to check if the vendor is the right fit and is actually able to deliver the value and build the product in the longer term. So that way, we as a vendor, as a supplier, we have a chance to prove our value, but the founders or the decision makers have a chance to quickly test if the vendor works as they promised to. It's totally different from signing like a 1 year or 2 years long contract where everyone is guessing and actually betting if it will be successful or not. In this case, usually after a couple of weeks, you see the progress, you see where the team is, and you see if you made the right choice. So yeah, this is something that is this is really uncomfortable. Like the usually founders, I'm a founder too. I also have some product ideas that we are trying to turn into product. We usually as founders have this brilliant idea that we believe is super and it will be awesome and everyone would love it. So we are unconsciously afraid of challenging this idea with the market, of showing it to the people and getting their feedback and seeing if actually you've been right or wrong regarding our assumptions. So this is something that that we need to challenge ourselves and think about the minimal scope that could be delivered pretty fast. Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is pretty the same as about the investors and proving that you are not just talking, but actually you are able to deliver. This is this first aspect. You as a founder will show to the investor that you can actually deliver something if you do this fast. Yeah, so those are the 7 reasons of why you should go live. So as I mentioned, you will validate the need, the market need. You can get the feedback from the market. You can save the money and decrease the risk. You can show, you can prove to the investors and clients that that you can actually do this. You can work, test your vendors, test your team, even if it's your in-house team. you for sure will have to challenge your comfort zone and validate your approach and your ideas. And of course, at the end of the day, you will prove that you can actually deliver something, not just talk about delivering something. So we already talked about why is it important to go live. Now let's focus on the most important part. So how to go live in a less than 3 months? What is needed? We put it into 10 steps. At the end, I think afterward we will share with you the link to our guidebook about how to go live. So you will have this also the presentation, but also the guidebook on how to go live in less than 3 months. Everything what we are talking right now is there, but let's talk about this a little bit more. So the most important part is when you start thinking about going live fast, you need to focus on your real goal. A great example here is the real example. I will tell about it later more, but usually when clients came to us that they are coming with some product idea, they want to build a product. But the crucial question is why you want to build this product and what you need to do first before you can build the product. And very often clients came to us with the pretty low budget. Usually they do not have enough to build the product that they want to build. Of course, they can find someone in India or in another country where the prices are much lower than in our country, but still the quality might be doubtful, the cooperation might be hard, and other stuff might go wrong. But still, even sometimes there, it's not enough to build the complete solution, and the quality suffers and other stuff. But that I think we'll cover in the next webinar. So the first thing is focus on your real goal. Usually when you're starting your business, your goal is not to build a complete product, but is to, for example, prove your idea or validate your hypothesis. Or maybe your goal is to actually raise more money from the investors. And building a real product and raising money from the investors, those are totally two different goals that could be satisfied in the totally two different ways. And so sometimes you can, for example, to raise more investors, you may think about building something which will allow you to build your user base or customer base. And sometimes when you want to raise more capital, maybe you just need to build some kind of the demo app that you can show to the investors to show this new thing that is new in your product and is your competitive advantage. So there's like a different approach to this. The second thing that you need to do to go live fast is to reduce the scope. And by reducing the scope, I'm saying that doing this to the extreme. Like if you don't need something in the first version, you shouldn't implement that. And again, that's connected to the goal. If you do not need something to realize the goal, you don't need to implement in the first version. Maybe you don't need to have the onboarding screen, for example. Like in our application that I mentioned before for doing the virtual shopping, in the first version, we won't have the onboarding screen. This is something that is unneeded. We could do the onboarding by adding the record, by developer adding the record in the database. And that's all for the first version. Of course, if we will have like hundreds of users and the clients and shops that want to register, that won't be a very efficient way of doing the onboarding to the application. But if we will have hundreds of shops that want to register in our application, it's a good problem to have, actually. So we don't need it in the first version, but we can think about it. But for sure, we will not include this in the first version. Yeah. So the team that you have is crucial. Like especially when you are building the software product, software developers, those are usually not everyone, of course, but majority, like let's say 80% of developers are technical geeks. Those are people who are watching YouTube movies about how technical excellent you should be, how to build the architecture, how to write the best quality software, best quality design and code and other stuff. But in all of that, usually they forget that why they are doing the code, why they are coding. And the reason is they are coding because they need to provide some business value. And it's pretty. I know that if you are not a coder, maybe this is something that might sound strange for you. But since I've been working in IT, I've seen over and over the same that majority of developers do not know why they are producing code, why they're creating the code, why they are adding new features and other stuff. They are just passionate in coding, not in delivering business value. So it's extremely hard to find people who are the right product team, are right developers who are focused not only on the technical excellence, but also knows when to and how to use this technical excellence to provide the biggest value, where to cut the corners and where not. It's pretty hard and not easy to find this kind of teams. In our case, we have like maybe one person every 100 candidates pass our tests, and still we need to put a lot of work to switch or shape the mindset of these people to think about the business and think how to not just do the code, but how to provide the value. So yeah, so when you already have such a team, you need to trust them, and this is extremely hard. This is something that many founders struggle with, and usually they struggle with it because they do not have the right team, so they need to control them, micromanage them, and other stuff. And to trust your team, you need to have a right process in place. Like, for example, we are using Scrum, where the process is pretty transparent, the progress is pretty transparent for the clients. And for everyone in the team, the product backlog, the list of the features that need to be done, is expressed in the business language, not the technical language. It's clearly visible for the stakeholders, for the business people, where we are, what will be done next. They could, of course, change it in time, change the priority, change their mind. That's not a problem because the process serves to that. And so a little bit of trust, plus the great process, the good process, and you should be able to pretty easily go live fast. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the right team need to know when to find the balance between the quality, functionality, and the speed. And you know, I used to be a QA, a quality assurance engineer. I used to speak a lot about the software quality, and always we've been striving to, at that time, to assure the highest quality possible. But the truth is that the quality level depends on the stage you are. When you are starting your product and you want to go live fast to validate your hypothesis, not always you need to assure the greatest quality. Maybe you should cut the corners at the beginning, but you need to do this smart. You need to do this in a way that it will be easy to refactor it, to fix it later, and to actually then move to the proper quality level. And this is another thing that's extremely hard. Like, I've seen plenty of developers who are able, like, it's not a no-brainer. It's not it's not very hard to build low quality products. What is hard is to actually learning when you should stop building low quality products and move into turning these low quality products into high quality. If you are doing this too late, you will spend a lot of money to things that is called refactoring. If you are building the products, and if you ever heard about legacy code, so legacy code is the code that need to be refactored. And refactor is another magic word that business founders, when they hear, is like, why should I pay you twice for the same job? Because refactor means that they are changing the quality of the code that is somewhere under the functionality on the top, and actually improving the quality of the code. Why should I pay twice for that? Well, if you have this kind of discussion with your team, most probably this team need to learn a little bit about the quality levels and when they should up the quality, when they should cut the corner, and do this more wisely than they used to.
Okay, another thing that should help you to go live with your product in less than 3 months is to make tough decisions fast. Hesitation is sometimes worse than going with the solution, with the decision, and then refactoring or rewriting the piece of software. So we urge you to make decisions fast.
Sorry, I would interrupt a little bit. This is something that I see very often, maybe not very often, but from time to time when we are working with our clients. At the end of the day, our teams are able to go so fast that our clients struggle to catch up, and they became bottleneck, the decision-making bottleneck. And I have a question, like today when I had the conversation with our team leaders, and some of them said that they have a problem because they need to make a decision on behalf of the clients because they are waiting for 2 or 3 days for a decision to be made. So they need to make some assumptions. So as Łukasz says, you sometimes need to make a decision, even if it's wrong, then it will be easier to rewrite things instead of just forcing few people to wait for your decision.
Yeah. Another thing you have to remember about is to communicate with and outside of the team. I've been in the software industry for the last 17 years, and I have seen many teams who live in a bubble of requirements. So obviously they lack a business context. The tech team needs to understand the desired outcome. I think it's pretty obvious that at the end of the day, nobody wants a drill, but a hole in the wall. So you need to give them this context, and they need to understand what you're trying to achieve, because they are making hundreds of decisions every day, and these decisions have impact on your product. And you also have a number of stakeholders when you create a product. There's rarely a single stakeholder. So to avoid frustration, to avoid getting sidetracked, you need to make sure that everyone that is involved in the creation of the product in such a high pace understands the process. Meaning the process is understand the problem, define solution, validate qualitatively, and then verify quantitatively. So tech team and the business side of your product setup, they need to be in sync. One more thing that will help you to go live with your product in less than 3 months is to choose the technological stack wisely. It's a bad time to probably do everything from scratch, to bespoke everything. It's better probably to choose what's existing out there, integrate it with what you have, or maybe just some pieces, bring them together and validate your hypothesis. Do not invest into bespoke code yet. It's really about going with maybe a stable infrastructure, GCP, AWS, Azure, and test what you have in mind, and basically reap the benefits of stable infrastructure. This is a crucial point in the view of product development. You have a number of risks that you need to mitigate, especially the technological risks are tricky. And we advise you to mitigate them by making decisions that are oriented on the business. So, as I mentioned earlier, the tech team, they are making many decisions along the way. Your tech lead or your architect should be aware of, rebuilding another monolith, or you're going into microservices or loosely coded architecture. And these decisions, they have to be rooted in a business goals. Otherwise, it's easy to go into this bubble of requirements and build something super shiny that nobody wants.
Yeah. Also, I think very important here is to also what you said before, in terms of the technological risk. It's better to choose something that your team knows well, instead of choosing the technology that is just a shiny new thing. Especially avoid the technologies or libraries or frameworks that are in beta version or are not stable yet. So I remember one project where we actually failed miserably because 80% of our time we were doing the workarounds for the bugs that were in the framework that someone, I would say, the CTO on the client side, decided to use as a new shiny things that will solve all of the business problems, which wasn't true. So, well, you need to think about this.
So here you have the 10 steps to go live with your product in less than 3 months. I will not read them. You can see it yourself. If you want to learn more about this, we will provide you with a link to a guidebook after the webinar, and you can download a guidebook about product development made by Pragmatic coders, and you can find even more context and more information about these 10 steps in this guidebook.
Yeah, so case studies. As I promised some time ago, I will share with you 2 examples of the 2 of our clients that we work together with, for one with 1.5 years and with the second one for 2 years till now. But in both cases, we went live pretty fast. And the first platform that I'm going to speak about is the commodity trading platform, where the founder from UK came to us, like it was almost 2 years ago, and he said that he wanted to build a commodity trading platform and he has some budget for that. Actually, he asked us how much will it cost. Fortunately, we asked him, okay, how much you want to pay? And then conversation started, because it occurs that the budget that he has was just, let's say, 1/10 of what he actually need to go live with the fully completed product that will meet all the regulations, requirements, and other stuff. So instead of focusing of how to cut the cost in terms of the cutting the scope itself, we asked another question. Okay, so why you need this product? Why you need this platform? He said that he has like a few few companies that want to invest into this business. He already have like a few, maybe more than 10 or 20 potential clients, potential buyers who want to use this product, this platform that he wants to do. But he need to have something to prove the investors or prove the buyers that they should sign up for buying, using this platform actually. And then we started the real conversation. We started, okay, so what you think we need to deliver? What is different in your platform than in any other platform on the market that we need to show to the buyers, and we need to show to the investors to demo that product and to prove that actually your idea is worth to be invested, and the users will sign up. And we did that. We figure out what is the minimal functionality that is different from the other platforms in the market that need to be demoable. There were like no real transactions there, so no requirements for the regulations, other stuff. We were just we've been just creating for the 2 or 3 months a demo app that shows the way that user can add some trades and that the market behaves in some way, where all the transactions were actually the scripts that were run automatically. There were no people, no transactions behind it, but it behaves like a regular market. I remember one thing that was crucial in this, just like a game changer, the feedback from the very first user, I think, or investors who have been shown this application was that, oh, but those numbers are not actual, and the prices on the market, the oil prices on the market today are different than you. So it's a piece of not a regular app. So we added a small upgrade after that feedback, that the prices were every day were updated for the market prices. So for the next users that this app was shown was actually reflecting the current market that was traded on the application. So and actually that works. That works. So the client, our client, managed to sign up his clients, managed to go to the investors and raise some capital, a lot of capital, more than he needed to actually build the first version of the platform. And as I said, till now we are working for 2 years, and this is the budget for this project is already something around even 25 times more than we've been talking at the very beginning. And that was our approach to help this client with raising the capital to actually build this partnership relations for years. And I think this is the good example of where you need to focus on the real goal and how to cut the scope to the minimum. Okay, so the second example that I want to share with you today is the platform for it's actually the cloud kitchen platform. Let's call it like this. The platform where our client's company, the startup, they are creating the kitchens that are cooking on behalf of the restaurants, and then delivering the food using their own services, delivering services, or the provider's services. This is like a pretty cool model. In this case, that they came to us at the very beginning of the development. They already have some, let's say, MVP of the product that works on production, but they wanted to prove to the investors that they could deliver the new version of the product, or actually the new segment of the product, pretty fast. And as usually it happens in the startup, they came to us a little bit too late. I mean, we had only like 4 weeks to go live with a new version to prove, because there was like a meeting with the investors in the 4 weeks. So we had to prove in 1 month that we can deliver something or something like this. And we were so focused on cutting the scope that in the very first version of the application, we add the login screen. Also, the registration was done some offline way, but login screen that people could log into application and do the stuff there. But we didn't add the logout button. Maybe there was a button, but it wasn't working at all. Because the authentication was crucial, but actually logging out, who cares? In the first version, for the 4 weeks of development, we don't need it. We'll add it later. At the end of the day, we've added it, I think, in the 3rd or 4th month after going live to production, because actually it wasn't the crucial functionality of this application. Łukasz, I think you had something to add here, because recently you've been speaking.
Yeah, sure. You are doing really well, so I wouldn't like to interrupt you. So the question is, what real money comes from in this situation? And it's all about the food order. So our approach was basically based on enabling the users to order food as soon as possible. It meant that part of the platform was developed, part of the platform was managed manually by call center or different agents. But the crucial element was that the food order could come to the system, the food was prepared, and it was delivered. And that established for us the whole process from beginning to the end, and allowed us to test real users' feedback.
I think that crucial here is was going live really fast, and then incrementally adding new functionalities on the top of what have been built before. Like every week or every 2 weeks, we had like a huge production release with the new functionalities where we add new add actually value to the product.
This customer of ours is now in the kind of growth phase. They accelerate, and it's a living proof of that this approach matters. Deliver fast and optimize later.
To give you some numbers, when we started almost 2 years ago, no, less, 1.5 year ago, even less. When we started last year, they have around 60 or 70 people on board. Right now, they have almost 1,000. So it's like a huge growth. And they used to be on the one market. Now they are working globally on a couple of markets. So that was the huge growth that was actually supported by this kind of rapid software development and releasing fast, releasing often, and thinking about business value.
Okay, that concludes the part that was covered by slides. Now the exciting part starts, questions and answers. If you have any question, please type it in the comment field on the YouTube stream, and we will address these questions now. If there will be some really complex ones or we run out of time, we will follow up and answer your questions via Meetup group.
Yeah, so you can now start typing your question. If you are watching this later, not during the live webinar, then do not hesitate to contact us and to send us any questions or comments you have. There's a question about this Cloud Kitchen platform, I see. No, we are not reselling our products, since the majority of products that we are building are in full ownership of our clients. Like, we are transferring all of the IPs to the clients, so we are not reselling the software. And in most cases, the software that we build is a custom software, a very custom software, that usually doesn't fit to the other companies. So this is not our business model. We are not building the resaleable platforms or software as a service, at least not when we are working for a client. We did have few of the platforms like this in the past, but we are not doing this anymore. But of course, we can do some custom software. Do you have any other questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions. So thank you very much for your presence, for watching us. If you will have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us. Here are the links to our Calendly. If you would like to schedule a meeting with me or Łukasz, you can simply use these links. The presentation will be shared with you if you are signed up at the meetup. You will receive an email with the link to the slides, the link to the guidebook. We also would like to invite you to join our LinkedIn group. If you will search for the future of product development is here group at LinkedIn. This is a global community that we started to build for product development people, just to exchange the knowledge there, to build some community globally, since we do have people invited from all over the world, from New York, from Dubai, from UK, London, from Oslo, and a few other cities. We want to just create the hub and the group of people who can exchange their ideas. As I've seen on this chat here, you had like plenty of great ideas and comments to what we've been talking about the ideas, what could be done. This is exactly what we want this group to be built for, and how it should work. So feel invited to join us there.
So I think that concludes today's meetup. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah. Bye.